there's been quite a lot of outcry over this. I've yet to see someone coming forward and saying it's a good idea to spend 22 million rand on a project to build a flag that would be at least 100 metres high. Jack Devnarain is the chair of the South African Guild of Actors. They've had Jack, how to describe it? A difficult relationship with Nathi Mthethwa over the last few years during the lockdown. You've seen the suggestion. Good afternoon. How do you react to it?
Hi, Stephen. Yeah, we've had a good working relationship with the Minister and the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. As regards this proposal, I really am in despair. And I'm not the only one. I suppose in this case I represent the feelings of a huge creative industry. And all the practitioners that I speak for are people who are just absolutely gobsmacked. We are utterly surprised, and we feel quite helpless and hopeless. We asked for actor royalties, we get a flag. We ask for some kind of industry regulation, the right to perhaps unionize or to have stronger statutory regulation, we get a flag. We are asking for some kind of scheme where we can generate our own income and not have to be so reliant on grants. What do we get? We get a flag. And I'm here to say to you, Stephen, I hope he builds it.
Why do you hope he builds it? What do you think will happen?
Well, I think it will stand as a monument to the Minister, the fact that he's so completely tone deaf, out of touch, and the fact that he hasn't been listening to the creative practitioners for a number of years now. And it will be wonderful to have this kind of legacy that will be there for all to see, something for us all to be able to point to and say, this was Nathi Mthethwa's contribution to the creative industry when people were starving. This is what government feels about us as an industry. And in fact, it goes to a bigger point as well, Stephen. We really have to consider that as a creative industry, we are looking at an entire industry where we don't have any kind of regulation. And we don't have a voice where we can take representations not just to the department itself, but to Parliament. Whereas other industries will have some kind of collective bargaining arrangement, or they will have some kind of statutory regulation where people will be able to relate to each other in a way that is constructive. Creatives don't have that. So we are entirely at the mercy of this kind of random decision-making that wastes huge amounts of taxpayer money, including the tax money that are contributed by artists through their own earnings.
Jack, I mean, what's so interesting about this is I cannot understand why someone would feel one way to be a South African before this massive project and then feel so different after this massive project, whether they've seen it or not. Now, you represent your constituency. I'm a journalist. I bet the two of you could sit down together over a beer or not and probably between us come up with 20 ways to at least start trying to improve social cohesion. I still don't understand what the flag would do. I'm sure you have other suggestions that would do it.
It's a difficult one, and it's something that we are happy to engage with. Let us start the dialogue of what does social cohesion mean. Let us start a dialogue about what does transformation in the industry mean. We haven't had that dialogue. And yet, we are now spending 22 million rand. And to be honest, Stephen, I'm more surprised that the opportunity wasn't taken by the Minister to build a 150-meter statue or a flagpole of 180 meters. So what's stopping him then? Surely if we're measuring this by size, then there should be more social cohesion at 200 meters than there is at 120.
Do you think it's actually going to happen, or do you think there's just too much opposition?
Oh, no. Let's start on the basis that this department and the Minister doesn't listen anyway. So it will be built, make no mistake. This is the kind of tone deafness we are talking about, where the department doesn't necessarily feel the need to, as it were, read the room. If that were the case, this would never have been on the cards in the first instance. We would have been talking about more relief for performers. We would have been talking about some kind of regulation and trying to make sure that actors are not so reliant on the grants that have been coming through the COVID lockdown time. A desperate time for us all. We're still feeling the effects of that.
Jack Devnarain, thanks very much indeed. Do appreciate it from the Actors Guild. An important contribution, I think, to that debate. As I say, I'm yet to see anyone supporting this move by Nathi Mthethwa.